Hello my friends, Dave Schramm here of SchrammGuitars.com, and today I'm going to show you some of the tools that I use to set up the thicknessing the nut and saddle on my classical guitars. Let's go check it out. So here, once again, one of my favorite tools. Almost every part that I make on my guitars comes off of this John Gilbert thickness sanding disc. It's chucked up in my drill press, about 5-inch diameter, and runs at about, I think it's set up at around 1200 RPMs right now. So I use that to thickness my nut blank. So I use this sled that I made from a piece of Baltic birch 3/4 ply. These are tongue depressors that have been glued on there. And I actually took a plane and made a nice tight edge on there. So I should mention that I actually run this underneath my thickness sander to make sure it's perfectly even or flat when I run it on the blanks under my disc. So this blank has already been thicknessed. It's perfect fit. I'm getting ready to do the string slots. So the blank is put on here, and then this is run underneath the disc while it's spinning, moving from left to right in this direction. So it'll go this way underneath the disc. Let me move this out of the way so you can kind of see the direction. So this will go right underneath here, and it's on this half of the disc. So it goes underneath there. And then I get this till it just doesn't quite fit in the slot, and then what I'll do is I'll take it to some 320 grit sandpaper. I use this Norton Pro Sand 320, the P grade or whatever this is, and then I'll run this on, or move it on my piece of sandpaper here till I get it so it's just this nice slight resistance in the nut and saddle slot. Okay, so now the bottom of the slot, or the nut, to get it perfectly flat and square, I use this device here. Now this is an eBay knockoff, probably made in China, that I got a few years ago. I do want to upgrade to the StewMac one, because I think the StewMac one will probably work better than this one. This one just has some issues since it's being a copy of it. So these are depth stops. These are spring-loaded so that this opens up here this way. Your nut and saddle blank goes in there, and then it's flipped this way so these wheels move. And you'll actually tighten these up so that it puts it so that the wheels do not spin, so that when you are sanding it on your sandpaper, as soon as the wheels start moving, then you know the bottom of your nut or saddle are square. So that's what I've done to this nut, which I am now fitting in a guitar. So I clean the nut slot with these StewMac files, and so you can already see how clean it is there. And then my nut is put into this slot. Sorry, I'm doing this one-handed because I'm holding the camera. So that's in there. And then what I do is, I've been doing this method for, gosh, at least since 1991, where I take a pencil, I flatten it out, and then I make a little bevel there, and I put that on my frets, and then make sure you don't tip it this way. I'll hold it so on frets 1 and 2, put it on the nut, and then it'll run across there, and then what that does, puts that line on there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to file each slot to that line. And then I have another way of adjusting, fine-tuning my string height at the nut, which I'll show you in just a minute. But that's how I start that out. And then what I like to use, I use my average string spacing is 43 millimeters. And this is about a 52 millimeter nut, I believe. So what I'll do is, so that would be like 9 millimeter difference. I'll go 5 millimeters on the treble side and 4 off of the bass. So the treble side has a little bit more room than the bass. That's pretty typical on a classical guitar. All right, so next I'll show you my next step in setting up the nut. All right, so now what I've done is I've marked from the end of where the nut's going to be, and it's a little bit proud because I'm going to adjust that when I fine-tune the nut fit. I've made the 5 millimeter mark from the treble side, and I like to use this Stu Mac rule. It's their string spacing rule that goes from bass to treble. It's kind of a calibrated for diameters of strings. So I have mine marked for 43 millimeters. So what I do is I find that mark, which is right there, and I'm just going to fill in each string here. Then I'm going to double check it, make sure it lines up, and everything does. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my X-Acto blade saw and just kind of start each one of those, and then I'm going to take my diamond files to it. So I already did that one with my file. Get right on top of the line. And just do a couple strokes. This is just so that when I use the file, it'll have something to bite into. There we go. And the next one. So I'm not sawing into the depth line that I did earlier. And this X-Acto is really sharp. My last one I just replaced this one. My other one was 30 years old. This one is so sharp. Don't wait 30 years. Man, these cut nice. Right there, I've got my string slots started. Next I'll take my diamond files and cut those out to depth. Okay, I'm now going to use some of these diamond nut files to rough out these slots that I just made. This one's a 28 thousandths slot. I use this on the first string. This one I already had, this diamond one. These other ones I got from Music Nomad. I love these. These are awesome. So I use a 32 thousandths for the second and fourth string. Third string I use a 42 thousandths. Fifth string 36 thousandths, and sixth string 46 thousandths. So I'm going to use this to find that saw mark. This is the 28 thousandths for the first string. I'm actually going to do that on each one of these. I'm going to let it find that groove. So all these all these I'm doing starting out with the 28 because it'll help the other blades find the right position. And these cut really quick, so you got to be really careful with it. There we go. All right, now I'm going to cut it to the mark that's on the front of the nut here, and I'm gonna lift this up a little bit so it's a slight angle. Again, this isn't going to be the finished depth. This is just to help me get started here. I'll fine tune it on the guitar. So I'm just going proud of that line, not all the way to it. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. All right, so you don't need to see me do that with all of these. I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of them, but that's how I get to this stage. Okay, so here you can see how I've got the string slots filed just above that line there. So I'm going to fine tune it once I fit the rest of this on the guitar. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to now bevel this edge so that it goes, whoops, this way towards the head of the guitar, and then I'm going to file this down to each one of these lines here so it has a nice fit, and then we'll be ready to fine tune the nut action on this guitar. All right, I've got the nut all shaped. Now I'm going to fine tune the depth here, and so what I'm going to do is I've used these two Stumac feeler gauges, a 32 and a 24, which give me 56 thousandths. What I'm going to do, another fret rocker, Stumac tool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to check the fret height, and this is perfect. There's no teetering here. So my fret height is 56 thousandths. I like tall frets on my classical guitars. So with that, what I'm going to do, I like to add 7 thousandths for strings. Strings 1 and 2 will be 7 thousandths higher. Strings 3 and 4 will be 9 thousandths, and 11 thousandths on strings 5 and 6. So that gives me this height. Now, because the Stumac gauges only come in the odd numbers, this is actually going to be 64. This will be 66. I'm rounding up, and 68 thousandths. So I'm going to use these size feeler gauges here. I'm going to put those right by the nut, and I'm going to file the depth of the slot until the file hits these feeler gauges. So this feeler gauge is 40 thousandths. This is 24, so that's going to give me my 64. This will give me my 66, and this will give me my 68 when I do those. So I'm going to pair these two up. I'm going to put them right here, and I'm going to cut strings 1 and 2 to that one. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this 0.5 Pentel pen, and I'm going to darken in these nut slots so I can monitor how the cut that I'm doing here. So I'm going to do strings 1 and 2. I've got the 64 thousandths gauge there. So this first one is 28. sure my nut's all the way down. And I'm gonna work the depth and the angle until it hits this gauge, feeler gauge. There we go, we got it. You gotta work on the bevel. There we go, string 1 is done. String 2 is the 32 thousandths. I'm using the Music Nomad. I'm using this just to check to see if it's flush, because it's hard to do that with this file. Yeah, I feel it touching. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with the rest of the slots there. Okay, so the nut's all done. I've used some 800 grit, these 3M papers to polish it up, and now what I'm going to do, there we go, missed a spot. I'm going to take some of this Novus polish number 2 and microfiber cloth, and I'm going to polish this out. But this Novus stuff works really good. Some of it on my rag. You can use whatever compound you want, but I've been using this, gosh, since the 1990s. My friend Thomas Humphrey, guitar maker in New York, recommended it. So I really like it. So anyway, you can get in there and you can get the string slots, get the bottom of it, then go to the dry part of it, and then just kind of buff it out some more. Whoops! There we go. There's the nut. All right, thanks for watching this video on how I make the nut for my classical guitars. I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions or if there's some content you would like to see, I'd really like to add more videos, but I want to know what you would like to see. Whether you're a guitar player and you want to know about guitars, or if you're a luthier and you want to know about making better guitars. I do Zoom consulting, so if you are a luthier or an amateur guitar builder and you'd like to know more about guitars and like to have a conversation, we can do it through Zoom. I've had several people that I've done that with, and just let me know and we can set something up. All right, everyone, have a great day. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.